because I truly loved what I was doing and I was succeeding at it. So it was never because of insatisfaction. It was always by the ability of seeing the opportunity of doing more and having a greater contribution during my lifetime.
Welcome to the Leading Minds podcast, where we delve deep inside the minds of the top life sciences executives. Join us as we unravel how they think, their vision for the industry, the purpose that drives them, and how they are moving the industry forward while fueling growth for their companies and their teams.
This is Leading Minds, and I'm your host, Jasmeet Sawhney. In every episode, we meet a leader who has made a lasting impact in the life sciences industry and continues to drive the industry forward. We go beyond the name and the title to unravel their personality, their beliefs, their mission, and most importantly, to understand how their brilliant minds are changing the world for the better. Before we get started, I want to thank our exclusive sponsor, Axtria, a leading global provider of cloud software and data analytics solutions to the life sciences industry. Now, on to today's episode. I'm truly honored to introduce our guest, Dr. Alexandra Goncalves. Alexandra is an internationally recognized academic cardiologist with a unique strength that is evident in her business acumen. She serves as VP and Head of Digital Health at Bristol Myers Squibb, leading digital health business strategy and execution across all company portfolio from clinical development to commercialization. Prior to BMS, Alexandra was Philips' Chief Medical Officer for Precision Diagnosis, leading the clinical, medical, and market access teams across several lines of business, including MRI, CT, informatics, and ultrasound. Alexandra completed medical school in Portugal, where she became a non-invasive cardiologist and professor of medicine before relocating to the US, where she did her postdoctoral work at Brigham and Women's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. She spent more than 15 years in clinical practice, has authored more than 60 peer-reviewed articles, including reports in high-impact journals such as European Heart Journal. She has also co-authored international management recommendations and written book chapters, including leading books like Harrison's Cardiovascular Medicine. Alexandra has won multiple awards for research and serves as an advisor to biotech startups. She has registered multiple patents in medical imaging and thrives in bringing innovation to improve patient lives. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And, as we talked about your credentials, I was amazed when I personally met you first time with how your journey has transpired over time. So why don't we start there? If you could provide an overview of your professional journey so our audience can understand how you become the inspiring leader you are today, since every journey is marked by successes and failures and highs and lows. It'll be great if you could talk about those as well and some of the learnings along the way.
Thank you, Jasmeet, for the question. Sure. So my journey started as a clinical cardiologist, which was what I aspired to be since a young child. And then while finishing my training, I had a pivotal moment, which was when I had the opportunity to have an additional fellowship in Spain, in Madrid, where the initial goal was to go for clinical training for 3 months. And after a month of being there, I got the opportunity of converting it into a PhD and stayed for 2 years. And that was truly transformational in the sense that was the first time that I had an opportunity to really engage with people from all around the world that were there to learn and be the best in the field as I was trying to be. And at the same time, finding a place that was giving me all the resources and the opportunity to develop an academic path. From there, it was really a time that I learned tremendously about an area of greatest interest, which was aortic valve stenosis and new treatments that were being developed at the time. So I had the fortune to be able to learn since early on the advantage of those treatments and then becoming a change agent for the implementation of those in clinical practice. From there, I came back to Portugal, and in the course of my academic route, I was fortunate to win a grant with Harvard Medical School And that's when I came to Boston and to the Brigham Young Hospital, where I had the opportunity to continue my work. In that sense, initially was with the scope of the valvular disease area, as I was mentioning, but I discovered that the place had much more to offer and was well mentored by Dr. Scott Solomon, and also others in the group were really peers to show me the ability of doing more in clinical trials and more discovery in overall cardiology. After a few years there, I had the opportunity to join Philips as their leader for medical cardiovascular ultrasound. And that was the joy of bringing my academic expertise to the industry and actually become real in some things that I had hypothesized. So it was a fantastic learning opportunity and a greater moment to contribute to development of a new equipment that today is in the hospitals and helping to diagnose people and save lives. Ultimately, then I joined BMS 2 years ago as the medical lead and now the overall head of digital health for the company, and that has been truly transformational on the ability of bringing all together from the medical academic side and device experience into the pharma world.
That is truly incredible. As I said, you have a very unique and inspiring journey, because transitioning from medicine to clinical to now pharma commercialization and digital health, and you're now leveraging data and technology to maximize the outcomes for patients. And you said it is impossible to actually plan for such a journey. And you started out just wanting to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And it has transitioned to so many different stepping stones. Now, tell me, what were some of the toughest decisions that you had to make or that kind of pushed you forward into becoming the leader that you are today?
There are two moments, when you make me that question, there are two moments that come immediately to mind. So although there are more points of difficult decisions, one was actually when I came from the clinical world in Portugal and in Europe to US, because although it was obviously a fantastic professional opportunity and an opportunity of career growth, it was significant change and a cut with what I had in terms of comfort. So I had what we would call a job for life in one of the most prestigious universities of Europe. And I had to say, well, I'm going to cut with this and I'm going to try something new in US and I'm not going to be afraid of doing so. Well, I was very comfortable. I still have a lot of my life there, right? My family, my friends. And I was in a very good position to continue to have a beautiful career. So that was a difficult moment. And then I look back and I think, it was difficult, but I'm so glad that I made the decision to take the challenge and to grow with it. And the other one was also the transition from academia to the industry, because I truly loved what I was doing and I was succeeding at it. So it was never because of insatisfaction.
Yep.
It was always by the ability of seeing the opportunity of doing more and having a greater contribution during my lifetime.
Right.
And I always tried to see that there was a two-way door, and that helped me throughout all the decisions. Like you can always go back, and we can always go back, but we'll never be the same person that we were at the moment of the decision.
Right. And that, I think, when you said that actually kind of defines the difference between a leader and, when we call a leading mind, because when you have that attitude towards doing more in your lifetime, that means a lot. And that means a lot for not just for yourself, but what you're giving to the industry and the community and the patients. And that's what matters at the end of the day. And that's what, the legacy is going to be and what we'll remember and what everyone would remember. So that's just amazing, and how you kind of took those tough decisions, but in the right direction. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now, moving to the present day, you have now a very important role in what I see as a very, very critical area at a critical juncture that we are in. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about your current roles and responsibilities?
Sure, my pleasure. So currently, pharma has opened itself much more to the opportunities of the digitalization and what it comes with data that is acquired through devices and with the implementation of artificial intelligence to expand the best offering to patients. What does this really mean? So in the scope of my role and in the context of Bristol Myers Squibb, I lead a team that has the responsibility of bringing new data acquired by digital endpoints for clinical trials, plus expanding the opportunities on the commercialization and evidence generation in medical affairs. Mm-hmm. This means that across the portfolio of therapeutic areas, the opportunities and the needs vary. So, for example, in the context of the clinical development, we all have the ambition of making clinical trials faster, more affordable, less burdensome for patients and overall healthcare participants involved. And there's truly the understanding that digitalization can help to that. And that's beyond the workflow piece, but it's also on the ability to bring data that can be seamlessly acquired while the patient is undergoing their activities and minimize the visits to the hospitals, minimize the overall burden of data acquisition in a deliberate manner and make it much more passive. And to that, improving the overall outcomes of the patient is the ultimate goal. So one of the examples of how we are doing that is to use a digital solution to do remote monitoring of the patients to help to understand who is going to have a certain side effect and detect that side effect before the clinical symptoms occur. So in order to give patient time to reach a hospital before the clinical symptoms occur and to allow the patient to be treated at home instead of the hospital environment, if the only reason why he or she would be in a hospital environment would be for that monitoring. That's an example.
Yep.
The other example that it's also interesting to think of is when we are talking about the commercialization space, there are so many patients that lose quality of life and years of life because disease is detected too late. So what we are doing is in specific opportunities, for example, in the remit of cardiology, in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, to help to identify patients earlier on with digital technology and with AI embedded in traditional tests like electrocardiogram or even like echocardiogram, to elevate the ability to diagnose and to diagnose earlier so the patients can have access to the medicines that they will benefit the most as early as possible. So we are working actively on that in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, in non-small cell lung cancer, in myodysplastic syndromes, and etc. So there are a vast number of opportunities that we can help the patient to get the best treatment at the best time, minimizing side effects and overall improving the experience throughout treatment. That's in a nutshell what we are doing.
Yeah, and that's truly the cutting edge work that pharma needs today as we try to get closer to the patient with the change in the therapeutic focus and with the change in the new drugs that are being developed, which are focused on really having this personalized outcome for that individual. I think this work is really aligned with that vision. Now, as we look into the future, can you talk a little bit about where this is going, like the whole personalized medicine space? Because there's a lot of work happening. So if you could tell our audience a little bit about how the field is changing and what are the trends that you're witnessing today?
Yeah, so as you mentioned briefly at the beginning of our conversation, we are in a pivotal moment. And so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that some of the things that we are talking about and even living through now, they have been on the works for quite a while, but there was no technology readiness to make that happen, neither ecosystem readiness, because we definitely need both. And what we are seeing today and what we can anticipate for the upcoming 5 years is truly transformational on the ability of the technology to deliver and hopefully also on the overall ecosystem to absorb it. What I mean with it is we have been seeing an incredible ability of the AI to ramp up on tasks that are traditionally human-made tasks and tasks that can actually enable our capability and the quality of our work in medicine. So that brings the expectation of a higher efficiency with higher quality all across the board. That's one that I think is already happening and will just accelerate in the upcoming years. One other aspect has to do with the consumable wearables. We are seeing more and more that all of us as patients to be, as consumers, as people that are interested in the health, we have a lot of data, and that data is becoming much more robust. While in the past, people would carry that data that would be seen with a high suspicion. Yeah, that's interesting, but so what? That's changing and changing fast. So I anticipate that in the upcoming years, we in the healthcare environment, we will be using much more of the consumable data, what we call it consumer today.
Right.
Not just because the data is more robust, but also by the ability of the language models to assess that data and to have responses for it very quickly. So I remember years ago that we would have patients coming in with a lot of data on their blood pressure. Let's just give that example. And we could get a little bit confused, like, okay, what do I do with all this data? And how do I make it quick and easy to interpret and have an output out of it? And that's changing. And so it's not that the data becomes overwhelming, but the data becomes useful.
Right.
And that's happening all across the board, obviously internally inside of the pharmaceutical companies, and definitely at BMS, we're putting a lot to it in terms of the maximization of AI in all that we do. At the same time, it needs to occur in the world that we live in. And that's what I mean with the ecosystem. So we need a broader investment on technology on hospitals to maximize the ability of AI in day-to-day work. And that's the part that I'm really hoping to see quick, right? Because otherwise we'll be facing a mismatch in terms of the technology readiness and taking the most of benefits from it across the world.
We'll continue the conversation after this quick message from our exclusive sponsor, Axtria. Improving commercial and patient outcomes. That's our goal at Axtria. We are at the forefront of life sciences digital transformation with the most advanced cloud software and data analytics solutions, enabling companies to manage data, derive artificial intelligence-powered insights, and streamline business operations across the product lifecycle. Because of our deep expertise in the life sciences domain, we are the top choice for life sciences companies for their digital and business transformation initiatives. We work with all of the top global life sciences companies who consider us their true partners, driven primarily by our most important differentiators, our people, and our inclusive and progressive culture, which is focused on developing the life sciences leaders of tomorrow. With every project, we are helping our customers achieve commercial success. But more importantly, we are helping them improve health outcomes for patients. See what we can do for you at axtria.com.
Yeah, I think you've painted a great picture of the future, and that future focuses heavily on the outcomes and the experience for the patient, which is great. Now, as we look into this future, how do you see the pharma companies that are structured very differently from traditional medicine and how it was done? How do you see that changing, and how do they respond to it, especially as it relates to the functional silos? And you cut across the silos, right?
Yep.
And so you're experiencing that, and the organizational culture and the mindset that prevails currently. Do you see that changing a lot, or is there a need to change?
Yes. So the short answer is yes, it's changing and must change.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that in terms of the must is because to remain competitive in this world with this boost of technology, we need to adjust to it. And that's what we are doing, and I believe others do as well. And what does that require is that, first off, it becomes much easier with the use of technology to convey information in an intelligent manner and to communicate all across and maximize the power of the intelligence of human, because you are already bringing the conversation to a higher level even before you start. The conversion of some of the work that could take hours and a lot of people is being maximized with the use of technology. And we cannot look away from that. Although we all admit that can be scary, can be frightening to think that things are changing at the speed that they are. But to us is the opportunity to be more productive and do more and better. So that's the angle that I think we look at it, and that we have been working very deliberate at BMS. It's to empower people, to empower the overall contributors inside of the company and outside as we engage, to have more joy in what we do and have also more freedom of thought, because you don't need to spend as much time doing some of the tasks that can just be automated now. So
Right.
that's the way that we are proposing to do that, and then we are executing on it. At the same time, there's a mindset change that without it, you don't drive transformation. So even if what I'm describing may seem to be making a lot of sense, people have to lean into it. And they only lean into it if they see the advantages and if they see the value. And the fact that we are using more technology on our day-to-day in our private lives, I think it makes it easier. But still, it's a journey. It's not something that happens from one day to the other, but has to happen perhaps from 1 year to the other
Yeah.
at the speed that we are moving now. So, I think it's helping us to work more across. It's helping us to understand that the gains are ultimately the gains for the patients, and the mentality is being challenged to adjust to new times. And I think people are doing that well.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see how the industry is evolving. And it is a challenge that I see that's in front of all of us to be able to embrace this change. And as you said, this is an opportunity. So if you see that as an opportunity, there's a lot that can be achieved. So thank you for that. Now, what is your advice for professionals who are aspiring to be leaders of tomorrow, especially given all that change that is happening today? What would you tell them to develop some key attributes?
There are a couple of them.
Yeah.
One of them that I think is essential is to remain curious and humble. The reason why I say that is because we can become experts and we put a lot into our careers, but there will always be more.
Right.
And there's always opportunity to learn in any given conversation. And I think that's something that really characterizes people that I know around me that have been able to have not just what we call successful careers in paper, but fulfilling careers
Right.
by the joy that they have with the path that they're going through, is that makes the continuous curiosity and being humble on their skills and their ability to adjust, to adapt, and take the best of every given moment.
Yeah, I think when you said those two things, curiosity and humility and humbleness, I think that perfectly aligns with what you have done in your career. Because as you talked about the progression and the changes, I think they were all driven in some part by those two things of learning more and trying to understand there's a lot more out there. And let me take that challenge and see what happens, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Now, on to the last question of the main segment, Alexandra. Given how busy you are in your role and as a leading mind in the industry, can you tell our audience how you continue to learn and grow despite your busy schedule?
Yeah, so I think that leads to what really excites us as individuals, and what means work-life balance for one person doesn't mean to the other.
Yeah.
And I have great joy in learning. So I dedicate time to it throughout. I think I learned throughout my job, which is a fortune, right? To continue to spend time with engagement of smart people and every given conversation being a part of learning. If we talk about other sorts of learning, I'm a strong believer in putting time for structured learning. So I personally put myself recently on a training to learn more about some specifications of clinical trials. And that obligation makes that happen. So I add that to my schedule, and I dedicate at least 1 hour per day, ideally early in the morning, to get an update of what's happening in fields that I'm interested in. And this means digital innovation linked with the medical areas that I have responsibility on. So basically, I'd say 3 different ways. One is learning on the job. Second, structured learning. And third, being disciplined and take time daily to continue to check on what's happening.
Wonderful. Alexandra, thank you for sharing all those insights. As I said, that was the last question of the main segment. Now on to the fun segment. I'll be asking you some rapid fire questions that you will need to respond to quickly. Are you ready for that?
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. What comes to mind when you hear the word leadership?
Challenge, opportunity, and fun.
Oh, nice, nice. Name your mentor or mentors or someone who has inspired you.
I had opportunity to mention 2 of them early in this conversation, Peppa Zamorano and Scott Solomon. They are 2 really inspiring people to me that I believe that I wouldn't be where I am without them. And I'm very fortunate to work with Greg Myers, who is someone that really inspires me.
Awesome. What's some of the best advice you've received?
One of the best advice that I receive is never do things halfway. If you put yourself to do something, give all that you have, and just be passionate about it and put the maximum that you have to the task that you are going to deliver.
That is so important. All right, next one. Name your favorite book or books.
I'm really a fan of historical novels.
Okay.
So I read a lot of in leisure with Ken Follett and Daniel Silva and some other Portuguese authors as well.
Right.
I also like authors like Isabel Allende and Luis Puda from Chile. So I have a good diversity of books in that remit. So I think after our conversation, I think it's just fun to share some other interests beyond the traditional books of leadership, learning, and medicine that also take a lot of my time.
Yeah, and what I've learned is that you learn so much from areas that you're not currently focused on, and then you can take some nuggets and apply to your current focus areas, which is amazing because it's kind of completely different perspective coming from outside that you can apply to your work.
So true.
Yes. What do you do in your free time?
I spend most of my free time with my family. I have a young daughter of 7 years old, and I love spending time with her, especially in nature and doing sports. That's the 2 things that I think most of my time are spent on.
That's the best use of time. Honestly, yes. Okay, you can have dinner with any person in the world. Who would be the 3 people you would pick?
So one of the persons that I would pick, I actually had the fortune of having dinner with him. His name is Alain Crébier. Unfortunately, he has already passed. And he was the inventor of the new treatment for the valvular disease that I had opportunity to dedicate time on early on my career. That I mentioned in this conversation. So he was a fantastic cardiologist, an amazing person, and an inventor of something that became truly transformational for patients during my lifetime. So he was one. The other 2 are more inspirational in terms of my beliefs. One would be Pope Francis that recently passed. And the third would be Barack Obama, for whom I have a special admiration.
Awesome. 3 wonderful people. And the last one person you believe is a leading mind in our industry and you would recommend featuring on this podcast.
That would be definitely Greg Myers. So I have the honor of working with him. And besides being a visionary, someone who's so able to illustrate and describe well the main points of need and how we are driving change and how the world of pharma and digital will intertwine in the upcoming years. I think is truly someone that I would recommend and I look up to.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think I mentioned to you once when we were chatting that it's amazing that he had this vision that you bring so much of experience, even though it's not the digital and technology, the area that he works in at this point, like the traditional IT area, right?
Yeah.
But he had the vision of bringing you to this role and making the progress and the successes that we are seeing. So that's amazing. Absolutely. He's an amazing person. So we'll absolutely reach out.
Thank you.
Alexandra, again, that was an amazing rapid fire segment. Loved all your responses. Thank you for sharing your story with us and the amazing guidance and advice you have provided to the audience. I've said it multiple times, you've had an incredible journey and its impact will only grow in the years to come. So many congratulations and thank you so much again. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Jasmeet.
To the audience, you are the most important part of the show. Because of you, we are the top show in the life sciences industry. Thank you so much for joining us today and tune in soon for the next episode of Leading Minds.
Thank you for listening to the Leading Minds podcast by Life Sciences Voice. Please share and hit subscribe with your favorite streaming platform. For more information, please visit our website at lifescivoice.com.